research finds that people who think they have a higher income than their peers are more likely to want to spend time with their peers. It's amazing. And really, it is an indictment on human nature and the powerful human emotion of envy. Now, a February working paper by the National Bureau of Economic Research found that those with higher perceived relative income, meaning they think they make more money than their peers, spent more time with their peers. Additionally, when people learn that their peers make more money than they thought, they tend to spend money on, I like to think of it as status symbols, right? A nicer car, improvements to their home, maybe a nicer home if they have the means to do that. And we'll get into the goods they spend money on in just a moment. But first, let's talk about the methodology of this study. Now in 2020, the researchers asked nearly 2,700 adult respondents in the Netherlands demographic. Why did they do this in the Netherlands?
You know, I have a theory on that. It's totally made up. So just buyer beware on this theory. That they didn't want to do it in America because America is so messed up with income inequality. You take a neutral country like Netherlands. I mean, the Netherlands seems perfectly lovely. This is totally made up. And they're like, even if the people in Netherlands still have these kind of toxic human emotions, then it must be real. It must be real.
I mean, why wouldn't they?
Or, by the way, the researchers are just based in Netherlands, which is probably much more likely.
Yeah, that could be the likelihood here. But anyway, let me give you more of the methodology. So in 2020, they asked nearly 2,700 adult respondents in the Netherlands demographic questions and how much they believed their peers earned. 2 weeks later, a randomly selected group received information from the researchers about their peers' average income or debt. Respondents were then asked about their beliefs and actions over the next few months. And so here's what they found. The average respondent in this research was 56 years old. Half of them were female. I'm giving you more demographic information. More than a third either have a college degree or a higher degree, and average net household income was 38,764 euros with a total debt value of 90,460 euros, although the variance across respondents is very large or both. Okay. Let's get back to the research and what they found. So women perceived that their income was actually 7% lower than their peers compared to men, which doesn't shock me. I'm happy to find that even internationally, men tend to be more confident in everything, including how much more money they're making compared to their peers. Employed people, those living with a partner, and homeowners were perceived as having income as 10 to 22% higher. And education and age did not significantly affect the perception of income, though older households viewed their peers as having more debt. Now, they found, meaning the researchers found, that when people believe their income is higher than their peers, they're less likely to think that income and wealth differences are too big and are less willing to reduce income inequality. The researchers note that this demographic sees income differences as incentivizing for personal growth, not because they view them as justified by hard work.
Okay, so we've done this with the monopoly test study too, so I'll come back to that in a second. But look, lots of interesting things here. Number one, the people who think that they're making more money than their peers can't wait to be among their peers.
Right.
I don't know that they're necessarily going to brag. We don't know that. The study didn't cover that. But they probably feel comfortable because they feel like they're on the top. And that's a human trait, right?
Sure, that is a human trait. One other thing I'll note is if you're hanging out with people who are flaunting their wealth and they appear to be doing better than you are, it might make you feel bad about yourself or where you are in life.
Well, that's the second part of what I was going to get to.
Oh, sorry,
yeah,
apologies.
That's okay. But they're not talking about the reverse of it, which is what Anna's referring to. The people making less want to hang out less with their peers because they feel bad about it. And they might feel bad about it because they're not keeping up with the Joneses. There might be a little bit of envy, which is what we started with in the beginning. But the bottom line is, in both instances, we can't help ourselves in comparing ourselves to other people.
Yeah, it's so true.
And it happens all the time. And this is a phenomenon I've talked about in previous bonus episodes where, there's like really nice parts of LA, they're not quite as nice as the Beverly Hills and Brentwood and Santa Monica, et cetera. And the people that live in those areas that are not Beverly Hills think that they're generally middle class or poor, when in reality, they're super rich compared to the rest of the world, but they can't see straight because they see their peers all around them who have more money.
Okay, I gotta stop you because this point makes me insane. It makes me crazy, okay? I don't care about where ordinary Americans fall on the economic ladder compared to the rest of the world. We don't live in the rest of the world. We live and pay for things here in the United States, where the cost of living is considerably higher. So like, I get it, but you are so much better off than someone living in poverty in, I don't know, Zimbabwe. I'm just picking a random place, right? Okay, yeah, I get that, but I live in the context of the United States, where my income needs to get me through the torture of paying for the high cost of living in the United States.
Yeah, look, so I hear you.
Drives me nuts,
Okay.
like I hate that point.
I got you, but in the areas that I'm talking about, still people have a lot more money than the average American.
That's
who
true.
also has to pay for those things,
True.
right? So it's a matter of how you view the prism of life, right? You can move that prism in a lot of different directions to see it slightly differently, right? But the point of this study is generally people don't. They see it as they're doing better, I'm depressed, I don't want to hang out with them. Oh, they're doing worse, terrific, I'd love to hang out with them. Okay.
I think it's more healthy, Cenk. Like instead of, I'm going to, look, I think it's more important to define what success is, right? Because I know of a lot of people who are raking in the big bucks. They're making a lot of money and they're able to buy beautiful homes on the coast with a beautiful view of the ocean, but they're miserable mother effers, okay?
Oh yeah.
And it's because they're doing work they don't really enjoy, but it makes a lot of money for them. So day after day, week after week, month after month, years and years of grinding in a job they despise just so they can make a lot of money. To me, that's not success.
100%. So look, the number one mistake society makes, and I'll start talking about this a lot more, especially in the bonus episode for members, is that everybody's chasing status. So that's why you see in this study as well, they go to get luxury goods. Because and I've always found that to be so deeply irrational, right? If you need the luxury goods to prove your sense of self-worth, then you are already in trouble, right? It's an irrational thing meant to assuage others and to look bigger than you are. To me, it doesn't make any sense at all. But guys, status isn't the answer. Happiness is the answer. And so, if status leads you to happiness, okay, great, and God bless, I'm glad that you worked your ass off at a job you didn't like, but at the end that you love that giant house by the water so much and you're super happy, no problem, right? But they're generally speaking not super happy because they chased the wrong thing. They chased status, then they got status, but it didn't lead to happiness, so it was a giant mistake. And society never tells you that. Society always tells you status is the most important thing. You must get status. Status being wealth or title or some position or a good job, whatever society thinks is a good job. Nobody ever tells, like might tell you to pursue your dreams at a nice graduation speech, etc. But if you actually go to pursue your dreams, people will generally yell at you at the top of their lungs. What are you doing? That's not practical. You have to go get status, right?
Yeah.
Why? Why do we all have to get status?
Well, I mean, they were lying to you when they said follow your dreams and that you alone can make your dreams happen or that you alone can change the world. It was all BS. Like, don't believe it. It was BS, Cenk.
It's not.
One person can't change the world. I'm sorry, one person cannot change the world.
Yes, you alone, of course, can't change the world, but together we might be able to, but that's me being the optimist. But the other part of the story that I wanted to mention though, and why I mentioned the monopoly study, is the minute people are making more, they think, I earned it. Okay, and I think there's no income inequality, a little overhyped. If they're earning less, they're like, income inequality, what the hell, right? Both sides. So there are real numbers, and you can actually see the income inequality, and if you're on the quote unquote winning side of that, the numbers are still real, right? So you're kidding yourself if you think that all of a sudden income inequality became less once you got rich.
By the way, one thing that I wanted to just mention about the question I had earlier on about why this study was conducted in the Netherlands. Keep in mind that the Netherlands is one of the top 5 happiest countries in the world. So I'm sure that that helped to control for some of the other factors that would play a role in countries with more inequality, less happiness, places like the United States.
Yeah, but kidding aside about my speculation earlier, like I'm glad for whatever reason that they did it in the Netherlands, I'm glad they did it there because America has become so toxic with income inequality and rage on so many different issues that it kind of ruins the sample. Whereas the people of Netherlands are generally lovely, right?
And we're generally lovely too. I just think there's a little less. Because of like the more robust social safety net and all of that stuff, I think that there's a little less of the
anger and bitterness and division, right? And look, of course, we're all human beings. There's no difference between a Dutch person and an American person, but the context of our lives is different because of the society and the government that we live under, right? And ours is a brutal form of what I would say is corporatism, not even capitalism, where we all are getting crunched by corporate rule and we have no one to help us and our government is gone. Whereas in Netherlands, you have much more income equality. You have the social safety net that protects people, etc. And they're and hence they are very happy overall. So, but even those folks can't help but be human and give into bitterness and envy and status seeking and greed and all these different things that make us what we are. And if you know it, it's a little bit easier to overcome it. So last thing is, in case you don't know the Monopoly study, they tested people playing Monopoly and they would tell them ahead of time, some of you are going to have an unfair advantage. We're going to give you more money and more real estate properties, etc. Right? Nevertheless, when those people won at the end, they thought it was all because of what they did. And
it was their merit.
Yeah, it was their merit that they had earned. No, but they told you ahead of time in the study, we're going to cheat on your behalf and give you an unfair. They still came away thinking, I'm awesome.
Dude, the human brain is incredible. It really is, and depressing at times. I think that's a good example of how depressing the human mind can be, where we like literally lie to ourselves about how we won based on our own merit, even though we were informed that we got an advantage.
And guys, you could see it in the politics. You see the politicians representing the wealthy saying, well, I mean, it's a meritocracy. And so they earned it. And by the way, by definition, if you're poor, you don't have merit. Now, wait a minute, you were born poor. What does that have to do with merit, right? No, but that's the subconscious thing that they put into your head so that income inequality seems like, oh, that's fair. The rich have deserved all of it. And the amazing part of it is that it's not a trick. They didn't get together in a room, decide to trick you by coming up with this idea.
No, they're tricking themselves.
Exactly. It's that the ones that are at the top, the most powerful, the most status, the wealthiest, genuinely think that it's a meritocracy where they earned all their wealth and the rest of you didn't deserve it. And so you gotta know that so that we can begin to fix that.